All right, well, hey everybody, Rob Satcham here, FeedbackWrench. I am here with Ankita from Acritic.com, and we are going to talk to accountants, bookkeepers, tax professionals based out of the U.S., and we're going to talk about outsourcing or offshoring solutions for your financials, for your bookkeeping, for your accounting to Indian-based chartered accountants. And so the main problem that people are facing right now, if you're doing this outsourced accounting model, is that oftentimes it's really difficult to find US-based talent, right? And we know right now that unemployment for accountants is extremely low, right? There are very few accountants for how much demand there is. There's a ton of, just hiring anybody in any industry is incredibly difficult right now. So if you're a small bookkeeping firm, accounting firm, tax firm, by golly, we do websites and accounting to help you actually close, hire, retainer businesses. I got a little course that teaches how to sell value, and then we will set up advertising for you. So if you compare us, we set up just really nice websites, in my opinion, which I think everybody kind of thinks that. So we're going to jump back and forth between a couple of screens here. But Ankita and I have been able to get to know each other over the last probably 8 to 9 months. It's been really fun to get to know her. And why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? How long you been doing accounting? Where are you based out of? And just so you know, there's going to be an Indian crowd here too. If you're an Indian-based accountant, I think you're going to learn a lot here. But if you're a US-based small CPA firm, accountant, bookkeeping firm, and you want to maximize your profitability, scale a more profitable business, and be able to actually wake up to pristine books done for your client, we're going to talk about 6 problems that Indian-based offshoring companies face. We're going to talk about how to get over those. And then we're also going to unbox just a little bit of tip for at the end for Indian-based accountants to make sure that they can attract more US-based accountants to offshore to them. But also I'm going to talk a little bit about how could you get your own clients. But if you like the idea of actually working with somebody, I would love it if you would just go to Acritic.com. So it's ACCRITIC.com. So there's their logo. They do a fine job. They do a fantastic job. Now, I got to admit, there's a lot of trust that's been built over the last, again, 6 to 8 months. And these guys just do a fantastic job. So why don't you just tell us about yourself a little bit here and fill us in on who you are.
Hi guys, I'm Ankita from Bangalore, from India. So based out in Bangalore, and I'm a chartered accountant, that is a CPA from India. And I'm in this profession from past 4 to 5 years, doing accounting and bookkeeping, worked in a big 4 companies, doing a lot of audit work and accounting work, and started advisory work from India. We are a team of about 10 people from India, providing these kind of services. And also we just love what we do, and we just have a vision that why not grow businesses in US by outsourcing it to us.
Because the dirty little secret so I'm going to talk to 2 groups of people. We're going to talk to the fellow Indian accountants, but we're also going to talk to CPAs, bookkeepers, small business firms. Again, I'm just going to real quick, we're FeedbackWrench.com. She's Acritic.com. And man, you guys have a passion for doing this well. One thing that a lot of folks don't understand is we kind of make the joke, and it may sound a little whatever in America, that a lot of the development community, a lot of the accounting community is Indian based. And it's because folks don't understand that a chartered accountant in India is absolutely the equivalent of a CPA here in the United States. And one thing that I've come to learn over the last couple of years is that part of why Indian talent is really thriving here in the US is because, for good or bad, they have learned the US language or the English probably better than most Americans. And while there can be dialect difficulties in communication sometimes, what's fantastic is that Indian-based, and that's a diverse group. When I say Indian-based, there's 330,000 people in the United States. There's 1 billion people in India.
We are second largest.
So when I say Indian, I know that there's an array of groups there, but just generally speaking, we know that you guys have mastery of the English language. And you guys are really great at almost every profession, but there are some disconnects between the US based economies and the Indian based economies. So we've been having a lot of conversations with that. Now, what's cool about Acritic.com, and again, it's Acritic. I'm just going to keep plugging her because my hope is that a handful of you guys, if you want to offsource, unabashedly, I want you to call them, book a consultation. They're really flexible. Obviously, offshoring, you've got time changes and whatnot, but they've been really accommodating. And what's beautiful for your firm is that you can wake up and have your books done. And now there's no financial gain in this for me. I want to help entrepreneurs. Like, I'm not like squeezing some money. She didn't pay me for anything. She has hustled her butt off to stay in front of me and help me understand how I can trust her. Got to see her credentials and their credentials. She has a business partner, Neetu, whose technology got a little shaky at the last minute. I think your technology is fine, but it's probably just my tool here. But now, how did you and Neetu get connected together? Because you guys have done this for like KPMG. You've done this for big four firms. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, that the big firms are utilizing Indian talent for accounting because, doggone it, you're excellent. And there's capacity. And the US dollar is strong. Like, our dollar can buy a lot over there. But why don't you fill me in on how'd you guys get your business rolling together? How'd you guys meet each other? And just give us some backstory here while I drink some coffee.
So to be honest, we actually met in a job profile, and we had a same vision. We were like, okay, we have to make profits. I mean, businesses are there. So we worked together and we understood that, okay, we are having this kind of capability. We gel up together and we were able to work together. And it's very rare to find the same vision person. So I just got her and she got me. So
that's great. That's
how
great.
we got connected.
That's great. And it's been fun to see. I don't have them here, but photos of your families and to see what's going on. But a little bit, so I'm going to walk through a little bit about what I've been talking with Ankita here and Neetu about what I see are some barriers to get through. And these barriers are really meant to just help equip both sides of this equation. So if you're a CPA, if you're a local US-based accountant here, I want to talk about some truths that exist if you choose to offshore. First of all, there's a lot of reasons to mistrust, to be suspect. I want to talk a little bit about that. There's also the realities of hiring anybody, let alone somebody who speaks another language and is, offset an exact other side of the world. Your time is a little bit different. And so what I want to do is I want to talk about some of the barriers that exist so that people can work through it, because these are the barriers that we've talked about that Ankita and Neetu are committed to getting through these barriers, because we understand that. Really, the key to all of this is that you need to be able to trust that onboarding new clients gets done well, because onboarding is incredibly difficult. And for CPAs and accountants, right? If you are an accountant and you finally get a new customer, it's incredibly difficult to onboard that customer, right? And if you remember, all of this is going to be based a little bit, and just, you can check out my course. Go to feedbackwrench.com, go to accountants. I have a course there. It's $500. Excellent coaching about what does it actually take to grow this accounting firm. And it's sales coaching. It's value proposition coaching. This is not it's here to help you. And if you ever do a website with us, we just give it to you. But I want to talk a little bit about some of the coaching that we've been doing with Ankita and Neetu, because I coach accountants to do a business model where really what they do is they serve as an outsourced accountant. Okay. And so I'm going to hop a little bit here. I don't mean to talk too much, but I'm going to move really swiftly. But the key here is that Ankita and Neetu have formulated their service package to support the outsourced accountant model. They have been deciding, how do we help make any accounting firm that's doing this outsourced accounting firm to be much more profitable and much more scalable. And the fact of the matter is that we know that after you start to get great clients, adding staff and improving your productivity, improving your efficiencies are the two most important value drivers for your business. Like, it's not price. It's not necessarily just selling higher amounts either. It is, can you bring together complementary giftings? Can you equip other people to work that OPM, other people's money? It's also other people's time, right? When we can do that, all of a sudden, one person plus one person equals 8. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's not normal accounting, right? We know, and I believe in, and I've seen it and I've experienced, and great leadership understands this, that there's a multiplicative effect on people when they start to build teams around them. So they have looked at this business model of that I call the outsourced accountant model. And so there's kind of a pricing structure. So I'm going to hop around a little bit here. Ankita interrupted. We do have a hard stop here that we're going to go to. I want this to be super valuable, right? So some of this is rehashed real quick. I'm going to move very quickly. I always talk to people that there's a small, medium, large pricing scale. And for the most part, I find that when you do what I tell you to do, that's kind of selfish. If you just do everything the way I say, all of a sudden you're going to have success. But there's some nuance here. But here's the bottom line. There's a pricing structure, and that pricing structure is usually you're going to have, small solopreneurs that are $200 to $700 a month, $200 to $750 a month. And the idea is that you'd be their outsourced accountant, do their bookkeeping, taxes, payroll, all of that. Then you're going to have bigger businesses or mid-sized businesses. That's going to be like $500 to $1,500 or $750 to $2,500. And then you'll have larger businesses. Now, when you do the math on some of this to sell this value, I want you to remember in my model, there's 3 core value propositions. Is number one, you're going to help the business owner as a CPA or an accountant, you're going to help that business owner gain time and efficiency so that they can be more productive. You're going to serve as an outsourced staff person. Our goal is to make sure that they don't have to hire Patty part-timer, that person that might come in 1 day a week and do things for 8 hours. That's what we're trying to replace, because as soon as we do that, what you're going to find is that you do this simple math on that. If you had 8 hours of that a week, which is very regular for a business owner, if they have somebody, Patty part-timer comes in once a week, she spends 8 hours, she's probably going to get paid about, $30 an hour at minimum here in the US. I mean, McDonald's is legitimately paying, 16 to 25 an hour, depending on what you're doing. So you're competing against some really strong situations here. So again, that's going to translate to $240 a week. And if you can replace that person, you're going to be up against $960 a month. You're an alternative to $960 a month. And not only that, but if you think about it, when you are doing that, when you're doing their bookkeeping, accounting, and maybe some of their AR and AP, what's happening is they don't have to waste time, and you're doing it right. Because if we're frank about it, folks, that person does their bookkeeping and accounting, and then you have to come and do journal entries to fix everything because they're nonsense. Usually they mean well, but they create a bigger mess than what they actually solve. So you're going to do it right the first time. And when you're frank about that, that is a compounding value thing. Right? So when you can do it right the first time, they don't spend the time in the first place. You don't have to come in and fix on it. When you don't have to come in and fix it, you can focus on tax reduction planning. When you can focus on tax reduction planning, now they're getting real qualitative advice. You can be a CFO. You can help them see their KPIs. You can actually get creative and spend time in their case rather than just fixing journal entries. And what's beautiful is Acritic and Ankita here have put together a package to support this in bookkeeping and accounting, financial reporting, and even utilizing some tools that they're getting to know, like TaxDome or Canopy, so that you guys can have a centralized communication tool and everything. I have a link for TaxDome, little affiliate link if you click it and get signed up for a free trial. Also, ADP has some sweet offerings. If you're looking for, just connect with me in the link in this video, or go to our website, FeedbackWrench.com. So again, we're going to help them gain time and efficiency, which is the number one thing. But that takes vision. That's not an easy value prop. Number 2, we're going to create pristine financials. And number 3, we're going to help them lower their taxes. Well, what that value proposition is really based on, that value proposition to this business owner is really based on these 3. Those are just another way to say it. But number 1, they want to mitigate their taxes and build tax efficient wealth. Number 2, they want to you need to save them time. You need to save them labor. You need to build efficiencies and productivity and become a staff replacement and really serve as a CFO. That's the second big value proposition in order to sell high retainer business. The third one is that you're going to help them stay compliant. You're going to bring peace of mind, risk mitigation, and IRS protection. When you can do that, when you stack those 3 values together, what you're going to find is it's much easier for you to create a situation where people might pay you $500, $600, $800 a month. Usually what I found, and this is what I actually built at Nuance Financial, my old tax firm, is that we would have different levels of clientele, $500, $750, $1,000, $1,500, or $2,500 a month. And if you think about what that equates for an annual revenue, that's compelling, right? So if you land a $1,500 a month client, that's $18,000 a year. And as we move into like, what does that look like? Let's just imagine you got a $1,200 a month client. That's $14,400 a year. That's a good client. Well, now if we're frank about it, they don't leave right away. So in year 1, you make 14,400. Year 2, that's 28,000. Year 3, that's 43,000. Year 4, that's 57. You get it, right? Most people won't leave you unless you screw it up. And what's beautiful is that Acritic and Ankita allow you to fulfill and stay on top of things in a very price efficient manner. And they have built a pricing that allows you to absolutely scale. They have access to, so Neetu and Ankita they are absolutely engaged in making sure your books are fantastic, that your financials are done right. If you were to just summarize real quick, Ankita, what, and I'll just kind of plant the seed because I know I'm just surprising you with a question here. What, when it comes through, like real simply, what are the 3 or 4 things that you really help these accountants with in terms of doing? Like, what do you actually do for them as you get going?
Okay, so first thing is we provide quality work and at the lower prices. The price is also a plus factor here. Secondly, book should be timely ready and so that we can prepare the reports and we can be on top of it. So secondly, the reports are available timely. Third, the difference of timing, that also is very beneficial for us and as well as for you guys. So when you're sleeping, here we are working. So there is someone or the other who is on your books, working for you, making profits for you. And more importantly, that bookkeeping is just not getting your books ready on time, but also accurate books. They can help you reduce cost as well as build more revenue. We can strategize more by our reports, where we suggest people by our own experience that how can we increase more profits and lower the cost.
Yep. And I love that. So plus you guys are chartered accountants. Like, just so you know, folks, I talk to scores of accountants every week, and some of you are like, you're side hustle bookkeepers and you've been doing this. And by golly, you know how to do bookkeeping, but you might not necessarily be like CPA caliber financial report type of person. You've learned enough maybe in your courses or whatever it is, and there's no denigration to what you're bringing to the table. I think you're fantastic. But these folks know their stuff. They're doing this for KPMG. They're doing this for the Big Four, and that's not like an official like statement. Don't call me KPMG, but these folks have been working for the Big Four accounting firms, bringing high caliber financial statements, financial reporting, and bookkeeping. And when we were walking through, and we'll do some other videos about this, but there's a sweet package that you guys have kind of put together to make sure that you're not only doing their books accurately, you're doing their books, but there's a great onboarding process. And that's what I do want to dive in here about what I know are some of the problems, but I do want to frame up what I know to be valuable, because so basically you guys will do everything. You don't do the tax preparation, but you can help them with some of the process about asking clients. In a way, you almost serve as like a virtual accountant to help their processes. Again, I think leveraging a tax dome or a canopy software, some sort of ERP built for an accounting firm is really going to help with that. They can go through and make sure that everything's all set up and they will learn with you. But I do want to talk about some of the difficulties. And for those of you that are Indian-based accountants, I want you to know some of the tensions that are at play, because my hope, and I genuinely mean this, guys, there is huge opportunity. Entrepreneurship is such an opportunity here in the United States. Accountants don't need to be working for these gigantic firms with huge overhead that are archaic in what they do. You can build lean, super valuable, effective businesses that aren't just good for you, but that actually bring better solutions to small businesses. And I think in the small business realm right now is where all the opportunity is. If you look at what's happened, and it's a little bit tied to the tech market, small businesses are starting to thrive in a way that they used to in the past, but now it's really happening. And they need accountants. They need people to protect them against the IRS. They need to be able to scale along the population growth that we see. I'm sure that's a whole other subject. But the idea here, I just want to hit on this, is that you can attract these types of clients, but you have to position value. So the only way you can get clients like this here in the US is you have to do something that most accountants are not very good at. You have to do proactive prospecting to get enough people into your sales process, which the sales process I recommend is that you call people, you run marketing, you have funnels, you do everything possible to confront as many people, and you actually are going to have to confront about 20,000 people with the idea of having a meeting with you. Then once you confront them, you're going to have an actual connect meeting with them. That's usually a book meeting. And then from there, you're going to do an analysis. And then after you do the analysis of finding out what their taxes and their bookkeeping looks like, you're going to do a proposal about what it would cost. And before you ever show the proposal, you want to show them the identified tax savings you find. You don't need to give them the exact tax plan, but you want to talk a little bit about what you found in the S-Corp, what you found at hiring your kids or whatever that is, the top level stuff. Then you want to go into the value of a staff alternative. You have to hit on, if you hire Patty part-timer, it's going to cost you this. Third, you want to show them everything they get. And this is kind of the transition I want to make, because this is going to transition in accountants. I'm teaching how to do this. You're learning how to position this in front of business owners who don't give a hoot. They just want lower my taxes, do my books, and help me scale my business. That's all they want. So what's hard is like, you have to keep it simple, because they don't care. They just they want that monkey off their back and thrown on yours to handle. And then you want to do that with a team that's competent, that actually builds efficiencies. And that's what's cool about what Ankita is doing here, is that Acritic.com, they don't make your life harder, because sometimes when you outsource, you get virtual assistants, and you guys aren't virtual assistants, you're chartered accountants. A lot of times when you do that, if you don't invest on onboarding correctly, understanding the business model well, you can't actually make life easier. If I have somebody I'm going to outsource to, and I have to tell them everything to do, that's worthless. Now it's just a duplication of time. That's not what we're doing, but onboarding is important. So here's where, again, the outsourced accounting model is based on, you are going to do these things. And when we build websites, we always bring them to this. And it's because once we start talking, if we show the taxes, we show the value of the staff alternative, we show them everything they get, then the pricing is much easier, because by the time you're done here looking at everything they're going to get, it's pretty good. So we're just going to go through this. We got about 10 more minutes here on this video, guys. So number one, they're going to clean up their books and establish a perfect chart of accounts and ensure that they're set up properly. Number two, they're going to provide an in-depth analysis of the taxes and financial situation and accounting system. That's about doing like a snapshot of where they are financially and just kind of assess the overall situation. Number three, you're going to create a comprehensive tax reduction plan of the current year and the future year. You're going to create a tax plan. Number four, you're going to provide excellent bookkeeping throughout the month. Tied to this tax plan one, you're going to do the tax plan, and you're going to implement the tax plan like once they sign up. You're going to do bookkeeping every month. You're going to do it right. You're going to do it ahead of time. You're going to be prompt. Then you're going to set up the best payroll for their solution, whatever that looks like. Again, ADP, connect with us. We have an offer for you for ADP. And then you will either run the payroll for you or just help you and your staff do it. But you'll help onboard new clients. You'll help them with their 1099s, their W-2s, their W-9s, all of those annoying pieces of paperwork. As an accountant, you'll help that business owner with it. Then you're going to pay in their taxes throughout the year according to the tax plan, which eliminates year-end surprises so that you never overpay or build up a huge tax bill or get a big tax return and give the IRS a free loan. We're going to provide monthly or quarterly reports and management dashboards for key performance indicators. We'll meet before the year end to make the big tax mitigation decisions around investments and purchases. Should you buy a new excavator before year end? Quarter four is fun for us to do B2B stuff. We're just bringing in the rain, and so are my accountants, and so is every salesperson that calls on businesses. So you're going to help them make those decisions before the year end. Then you're going to close out the books at the end of the year, perform high levels of year-end reporting. Then you're going to make the tax season a breeze, do their taxes, and help them build tax-efficient wealth. So the reason why I'm bringing that up is Ankita and Acritic have built a service model that helps you do a whole bunch of that. Now, to be fair, every state has a little bit different tax situation and whatnot, but that's what they've done. And I'm really impressed with what I've seen. The clients that they have so far based in the US are having an outstanding time. And now I just want to talk a little bit about the barriers. But Ankita, is there anything that you'd bring up there? I'm drinking coffee. It's morning time here for me. I'm going a million miles an hour. But what pops up in your head as I frame all that up and how you support that?
The way you're putting it up and doing it's amazing. And
It's like I do it every day, all day, no matter what.
exactly.
So that's cool. That works. So that's the other thing. There's a humility in Ankita. high caliber chartered accountants. Neetu is sharp too. And unfortunately, Neetu's not here because she got punked with her technology at the last minute. So, and I kind of had to wait for my monster kids. I have 4 kids. They're great. I love them so much, 11 to 4 years old. And in the mornings, it sounds like a stampede of buffalo are coming through my house. So I kind of had to wait till that was done before we did this meeting. But I'm going to talk about a couple of barriers and a couple of tips for other Indian-based accountants. And this is based off of what Ankita is actually doing. She's working through these barriers. So you can rest assured that you're going to have somebody committed to this. And it's a process, folks. Anytime you hire an employee, it's a process. You have to get them onboarded. Each one of you accountants, I know this to be true. Each one of you do tax returns different. Each one of you actually do accounting quite differently from each other. In fact, when I used to be selling and just like dominating my competitors down here, we would get tax returns and we're like, how is it possible to have this much diversity in books and in taxes? You know, we closed 150 clients by the time I was done and left Nuance Financial, but I had done analysis on about 400 different people, like actually ran the upfront, and not everybody closes. And you're diverse, so it's a process. No matter what, as much as the language of accounting is universal, which is what we rely on, math is math, facts are our friends, and we want to make sure that we align all of their financials to that. There's a lot of diversity, but they are committed to getting through these barriers that I want to hit on. And I don't have cool slides for this. This is more we've been thinking. So I'm going to dive in a little bit. So I'm just going to be frank about this. And there is a little bit of story. So here in my new neighborhood that I live, here in the Twin Cities, I have a wonderful community of Indian immigrants. They work for a lot of the corporations around here. Highly capable, amazing family people that I absolutely, genuinely love. And I have a lot of, I have Pakistani neighbors. I have Indian neighbors. I have all sorts of fun diversity. And as I've gotten to know their families and gotten to know their different holidays and everything, there is just a frankness that I've even learned from my neighbors that they have to deal with when they're working within their businesses here. And the first one is that there is a difference in language in terms of there's some communication barriers, right? So, and tied to that are some other things, but I know that Indians often write perfect English, but if you were to talk to a Minnesotan versus somebody from Alabama, y'all, we sound and speak very differently, as does every region. I've learned that so much so that 1 billion people in India actually speak different languages. Like, we're all in the same language barrier here. But one of the little things that happen is that our sentence structure, the way we generally speak, is quite informal. If you were to write down the way we speak, it's quite poor. and also there's a little bit of connection between British English versus US based English. Some of the systems are a little bit different. So there's a little difference in structures of sentences. And I'm just hopping off of my list that I made over here. But the other challenge is that the dialect is different. So when you're working with an Indian-based accountant, Indian accountants, you have to work very hard to make sure that you speak in a cadence that's often slowed down and just elongate your words. Sometimes when a Minnesotan will say Minnesota, we say it quite long, like hilariously long, right? It sounds like comical even to other people in the US. And somehow an Indian will say it like, it's like Minnesotan, and it goes short and quick. And it's no shot, but this is an honest assessment. If you want to work with Americans, you need to know that communication, it really is a difficult thing sometimes. And the key is you can't get frustrated. Both parties have to make sure that you're committed to making it work. Be honest if you didn't catch it. Now, the other thing working against this is in the 90s, what happened was a lot of our direct-to-consumer companies, like in cable television and in the telecommunications realm, started to outsource to India very early. And Indians were capable, but there was a disconnect between the US-based customer base and the communication style. And I don't think that corporations knew how important it was. So there was a cynicism that got instilled into Americans as soon as they find out that they're working with somebody who's overseas. Oh, you're from India. You outsource to India. And it's no shot at anyone that finds that to be difficult, because it certainly is. It's hard. If my grandmother were visiting with somebody who requires more calories to listen to, it's over. It ain't happening. She's a great woman, but it's not happening, right? And so what has happened over the years is there's a little bit of cynicism, but I've watched documentaries and learned how Indian-based talent have gone in and worked really hard on that. But you have to be frank about that. We need to be very intentional about both parties being patient, both parties working on bringing clarity to communication. Understand that dialect and even just frequency of your dialect can be difficult. But so number one, that's the first major barrier, is just the communication barrier. You have to work at it. And for all of you Indian accountants out there, and I just want you to know, it is really hard for us to understand what you're saying sometimes. And that's fine. The more you work on that and the more you spread out your words and keep your cadence, and it's hard. Hats off to you. Like, it's almost not fair that we put that burden on you guys, but that you come here and take our strong dollar. There's opportunity for you, right? But I just want to be frank about this. Number one is the communication barrier is hard. Number two, there are trust barriers, right? So we need to trust that you're not fraudulent, that you're not a bad player, and that you'll deliver on time, good results, and that the negative trade-offs of onboarding you and working with you will never outweigh the positive benefits of offshoring to you. Like, if we choose to work with you, if you're going to come in and help an accountant, and this is what Ankita has absolutely been committed to working through with her current clients, and it's not been a problem, is that getting over these trust barriers. But you need to know that these trust barriers exist. So we need to understand that you're not a fraud. We need to understand that you deliver excellent outcomes. Like, how do we know your accounting's any good? You can't. It's not a matter of telling us. You have to show that you're credible, and I want to talk a little bit about that. You need to show that you're easy to work with. Like, you can't, like, there needs to be excellent customer service. You can't just be eager to cheaply outsource everything to us. You need to actually, like, be great to work with. Another thing is there recourse if things go poorly? Like, one of the things that happens is, like, okay, so I send you money. What happens when you just run away with it? I just had this same conversation with someone here in the US. If we can't establish that you're a credible business, we can't find licenses, we can't validate good, real, like that you're real, there's a whole industry of fraud out there. In fact, that's probably the biggest problem when it comes to trust, is that I'm on hundreds of websites and I see every morning we wake up and we get called all day by Indian-based talent, or even there's overseas people trying to work hard and get clients. But there's a lot of folks out there trying to manipulate and just mess with you. So we're always wondering, is there recourse? And there is recourse. I've come to find out that there are things that you can do. Another question is, are you reliable? How do we know that you're reliable? Sure, you can do accounting, but can you do it consistently over time? Because we're about to stake our reputations with our clients on your ability to do this, right? That's the big deal. If I'm going to outsource to you, are you going to operate in such a manner that my reputation can be staked upon the outcomes of that work? That's a big thing. So that's kind of the second major barrier, is the trust barrier. We need to get through those trust barriers, and there's things that do that. A couple other things that wreck trust. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of hit on a couple of these. So number one is that all unsolicited communication is met with suspicion. Okay, if you just call us and you want to say, I admire the hustle, but if I can't find a trace of you, and we've tried to work with this on their website at acritic.com to make sure that we show how real you are, that's an important thing, because any unsolicited messages, especially from a foreign country, I mean, we're so suspicious of it. We also have fraudulent activity, so even our corporations and technology will shut you down if you try and do it. We have no recourse if the agreement falls through. That's a problem. Americans are aware of fraud and corruption in foreign countries. That's another thing. We get it. We've watched documentaries on it. We've seen it. We've heard suspicions of it. It's been in the news. We know that corruption and fraud is wrought in nationally. Here in the U.S., we have corruption as well, but it's totally different. It's not anywhere near the levels that we see internationally, and that's no shot at international people. It's just a fact of the matter. The other problem is we ignore you because we just get bombarded. Business owners get bombarded by outreach. I admire the hustle. I admire the calling when you guys call and reach out and try to build businesses. I admire that. One of the things that Ankita did is she persisted gently and was easy to deal with and never got entitled or rude or anything like that. And it was just a fantastic interaction throughout the whole thing. And then there's a mistrust of anything that's unsolicited. So again, if we were to recap, we stake our reputation on you. Onboarding offshore can be difficult. That's the next thing. Sorry, I'm kind of hopping around there, but if we're going to onboard a new accounting offshore solution, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of effort. And what I know Neetu and Ankita are committed to, and if you want to be a great Indian offshore solution for a US-based accounting firm, you have got to work really hard at doing homework and doing training to make sure that onboarding is smooth. Understand the processes. I think you should lean into a tax dome or a canopy. Again, there's a link and I make like $100 if you buy it. But using an ERP so that you have this standardized communication, you have safe communication. It's all from one point. Can they like help send reminders like that? All of that onboarding for an accountant to come to you and show you their systems and have you become part of it. If they have to undo that, that's a lot of wasted time and it's very difficult. If they have to micromanage much of what you're doing, that's terribly unhelpful. Okay, micromanagement makes outsourcing and using virtual assistants or outsourced accountants or anybody, even if you have to micromanage as an employee that's sitting right next to you, is pointless. If we have to monitor everything and tell you what to do, that stinks. You need somebody who knows how to act, that lives by values. And this is where like anybody I interact with, they're trustworthy, competent, enjoyable, and rigorous. Trustworthy, competent, enjoyable, and rigorous. And I could give you speeches on that, but as I've been talking to Ankita and Neetu, there are certainly these types of people that have that. They're fun to interact with. They take their work serious, but they're not too serious about themselves. They work really hard at the onboarding process to serve you. They have a servant's heart, which I think is great because what that does is it makes it easy to do business. But if you have to micromanage an outsourced accountant, by golly, it's not helpful. No one's going to want to sign up with you if you're an Indian-based accountant trying to do that. Client communication and the process is critical. Okay, with your client communication, using a tool so that they can actually help you remind your clients and do all that. TaxDome has a sweet system for that. But that's critical. So as an outsource-based accountant, I would go learn TaxDome. I would go learn Canopy. Those are two ERPs that are great for that so that you can help with communication and help with process. As much as you can actually onboard that. Now, you guys are great. You have your own tools as well. You have spreadsheets and you have some great tools. But the more that you guys can bring that to bear on the whole thing, the better. So you need to show your credentials. So this one's out to other Indian-based accountants. We need to see you. We want to know your credentials. We want to see actual Google reviews. We want to see you listed on all of the different listings that are out there. You have to show up in a huge way. It's the same coaching that I give to a local business owner here. You have to show up. You have to have a Facebook page, an Instagram page, a YouTube channel. You'll want to get a LinkedIn business page. You want to get those filed. You want a real address. You want to show pictures of you and your team. You want to get actual reviews and testimonials from your current clients. You need to operate in such a manner that they're willing to do that. If we cannot find out that you're a credible solution, we don't want to do business with you, right? And what's beautiful, and even that, that's part of why I waited so long to have Ankita on here, is because I just wanted to find out, is she credible? And from what I can tell, I mean, I haven't been over there to do stuff, but from everything that I've operated with Neetu and Ankita, they're absolutely there. So how can recourse be pursued if there's fraud? That's another one. You got to make sure that you just figure out what actually happens. And last, this is what we got to talk about. Does your offering match what the accountant is matching? So again, a lot of times I'm coaching people to do this outsourced accounting model. What's been really cool is Ankita and Neetu have worked to craft their service model to be a small portion of the monthly billing, depending on the scaling, so that there's alignment there, alignment for them and alignment for you and alignment to the client, so that the expectation to the client is identical to what your firm is going to be on the hook for, which is identical to what Neetu and Ankita are actually going to deploy in the system. So we're gonna stop here. We've had a lot. Again, go to acritic.com. Here's a couple little tips. Again, I want you to use real domains when you're building. If you're supporting accountants and you're offshore and you're Indian based or anywhere offshore, you need to use a real domain. You have to actually have that going. You need to have an authentic website. Don't try and be bigger than who you are. Don't act like you're big. Go watch Gary Vaynerchuk. He talks about this a lot. Don't fake it till you make it. Be you. Be exactly who you are. There needs to be continuity between how you present yourself and who you absolutely are, and then how you operate. And the more you can bridge the gap between that, the more authentic, trustworthy, and credible you are. Make sure that you have simple branding, a clear logo, color continuity. That's important, right? You have to make sure that you look decent, but we all know folks just go out and grab WordPress templates, turn it on. They never change the images. We get it. Websites aren't hard. Communication on websites is hard, but we need to show that you're credible. We want to have great branding. It should be a simple business name that's clear and unique. And then you need to make sure you have citations. You got to open a Google My Business. You need to show that you are who you are. Ankita, thank you so much. I know I talked a lot there, but it was really more of like, we want people to reach out and connect with you. Anything that you'd add as we end here? If I want more people to reach out to you because I believe in your business. I've seen how you act. I've seen the actual professionalism you guys bring. I know what you're doing to help accountants, and I know that the need is dire. We need you. But any last thoughts that pop up in your mind, or things that you would bring up and add to the vast amount of work?
To be honest, when big fours are outsourcing the work to India, then why not small firms?
Yeah,
that's my message.
Boom! I love it. Like and subscribe. Check out Acritic.com. Check out TaxDome in the descriptions. God bless. Good luck, everybody. That was an absolute pleasure. And check out Acritic.com. I just want to make sure that I show that again. So it's Acritic, ACCRITIC, ACCRTIC.com.